Hi, I'm Juanita and welcome back to the Knit Guru. This package has been bouncing around the country for the longest time because it turns out that my street name is really similar to some other street names in the country, and for some reason Shopify keeps hooking up the wrong suburb when it goes through to wherever. So in all this bouncing around, what exactly is in this package? Well, this is my package from one of the Zaddycrafts restocks, and it's one of the ones where American people couldn't get in on it because of the tariffs. I don't know if the tariffs are still a thing. I know there's been an extension of lower tariffs or something. I don't really know. But here are my plans for my restocked Zaddycrafts yarn right before he releases new colours. Do I want to jump in on the bandwagon of getting new colours? Chances are yes, but here's my plan. Right, okay, so I have got the thingy. Now, I did lose this from my last order, so I paid full price for this rather than using the discount code on the back because I'm an idiot. Right, what have we got here? We have got, this is 4 balls of, let's say, charisma. I'm probably making it up, let's be honest. No, it's charisma. I've got 4 balls of charisma. I have got 2 balls of braid. I have got, is it 2 or 3 balls of, 3 balls of simple, and 2 balls of mischief. So why do I have all of this? Well, I've made a couple of Zach's crochet patterns in the past. I really like the itty bitty vegetables. As soon as I saw the turnip, I lost my mind. I crocheted a turnip. I got to pattern test the itty bitty jellyfish. I haven't yet made the Amorite, but I'm waiting for the Louis Loops Lava Run game to arrive, and then I'm going to do that one out of that yarn. So, you know, there's been a lot. I've done a lot, and it's time that I made one of his buddy patterns in his yarn, because I feel like that's going to be the best indicator of all of the things. I really like his patterns. I think they're well written. I think they're interesting. And I think there's a very cohesive style holding them all together. So there's all that stuff going together. So I ordered this so that I can make the itty bitty, no, not the itty bitty, the fox. So I'm going to make his little buddy fox, or buddy fox. And I saw when Kelsey made the bunny that it used more than a ball of yarn for the main part of the body. So that's why I've stockpiled. I'm well and truly ready to go. I was also thinking that at one point I might have to change the yarn for the Charmander that I'm working on, but I now might just abandon that Charmander completely, because in the timing for the yarn to arrive, I've then had to order full price Hobie yarn, and as you all know, I can't get Hobie yarn anymore. So maybe now that Crochet by Kitten Girl's Charmander is out, I might abandon my sleeping one and go with her one, because I know I really like hers. But we'll see. We'll see indeed. I'm now just going to go and put this down and see if I can get my dog back from the top paddock. And then get back to it. Let's make a fox. And let's talk about Zach's yarn.
Right, so here's our yarn selection up close with what I think is it's me trying to be fancy, but it's not really working, is it? So I've got my colours. I didn't end up using any of the grey. So here I am starting off. I've got the simple there. A nice little artsy shot of the simple. Yes. And then actually starting to work with it. I really like working with the charisma colour. That's the nicest one. Because it's orange, and it's just really so incredibly soft. Now this bit here is the centre of my yarn, so as I went to pull out the centre pull part of the yarn, this whole middle clump ended up coming out, mainly because I found 2 ends. There is a factory knot in between, and I couldn't undo it, but I wasn't going to use it, so I just trimmed it off. Yeah, but the fact it was basically 2 balls of yarn, because there were so many ends in the middle of it. But I've never had that before with this yarn. What I do like about Zach's patterns is he says exactly where to put the eyes and how to put a marker in the face so that you know how to make sure the eyes are symmetrical. Because as you can see, when it's an empty vessel, it's it's a lot to get it right. Then his little armsies. The pattern there with the colour changes looks really cool. Actually, I quite like that. And then we move on, and we've got the legs. I did use his video tutorial for joining up the legs to make sure I get the right number of stitches in and around and get that bit right. I did think his tutorial was very useful, as well as very good to make sure it looks exactly like his. Then moving up through the body. Yeah, no, basically really impressed at this point with everything involved. Right, I've just finished doing the tip of the tail in the simple. I really don't like working with the simple. There's something about the texture of the simple I don't understand, because the Charisma one is so soft and so lovely, but the simple one is just hard on my hands, and it's actually hurting my left hand more than my right hand, which is odd. So I'm very pleased to be done with the tip of his tail, because, yeah, not a fan. And it's not just that I'm pro-orange and anti-neutrals. I promise. Now we're up to the sewing up stage, so everything is stuffed, and I've tried to stuff it as firmly as I can, to be honest. Except the arms. I haven't put a lot in the arms. The ears look really cool. I'm not sure where all my footage of the ears have gone. Now I'm using this metal darning needle from Hobie. It's got a bent tip on it. I find it's the easiest for sewing things together. I've done a bit of face shaping. Yeah, I think I have put the head looking up a little bit, but my fox is looking up. That's just how he is. Now, I have used different eyes, ones with clear irises, mainly because when I went back and forth, they're the ones I liked.
Alright, so at this point I have now finished putting together Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love him, he is great. I like his tail so much. I have stitched the tail on to his body. I think Zach connected it to the head, but I didn't want to do that. He's very cute. He does look like Zach's ones. Well, I mean, of course he does, because I followed the instructions. And you know me in following the instructions. So now what are we going to do? I'm going to take a blanket yarn, and I'm going to make another version of this pattern, but instead of making a fox version, because I couldn't find fox colours, I'm going to make one that looks like a farm dog, and we're going to see what happens when I take this pattern and use blanket yarn, and I think I'm going to use a 7mm crochet hook, because this here I used the 5.5. Zach recommends the 5, so I imagine with the 5 he's a little bit shorter, but there's no way I can use a 5 on this yarn in winter. No, that's just a no from me. So I'm a 5.5, and I'm still happy with the stitch definition. I'm still happy with how close everything is together. But we're going to make the bigger one in blanket yarn with a 7mm crochet hook, and then we're going to stand here and be able to hold them up together when they're done. That's going to take a bit of time, because I'm sure that I'm going to lose my arm, my elbow, and my tendons as soon as I get working on really thick blanket yarn for a project with this many stitches. But here we go.
So at this point, here I am with my blanket yarn, with what looks like a very square head, because the blanket yarn has so much structure to it. But it's coming along nicely. It was much easier following the pattern the second time around. As you can see, there's some of my dog fur hooked in the blanket yarn. Now, I didn't notice the dog fur getting hooked in Zach's yarn. He doesn't make that as a promise, but for some reason I found it was working out. I did 3 colour changes in the legs, mostly because I'm trying to make it look like one of our farm dogs. That's look, not smell like one of the farm dogs. Right, so this is the fox made in Zach's Zaddycrafts yarn, and I really like it. It still remained quite soft, but, you know, firm enough to have structure. This is the same one, but with a couple of changes to his face to make him more of a farm dog in just a basic blanket yarn. You know, and as you can see, the blanket yarn version's way taller, way wider, and used a lot more stuffing, but doesn't have the same structure or softness. Stitch definition's still good, but yeah, the blanket yarn, of course, loses its softness once it's sort of pulled into place, I find. That's the cat for bonus content. The dog will be given away today, so it won't be in my finale. Welcome back to the garden.
in amongst a lot of noise. So my apologies for the amount of noise, but I'm now at a crunch time to actually film the end of this so that I can give part of it away. As we would have seen, this is my fox, and I love my fox. I think Fantastic Mr. Fox is fantastic. Of course he is. And there's my dog version, or wolf version, or hunt-away dog version. And if I stand them next to each other, you can see the difference in the blanket yarn and Zach's yarn. They're both really good quality. They've got nice stitch definition, good softness, but I think the size of this one's going to be popular when I give them away tonight to my niece. And this little guy, Fantastic Mr. Fox, well, one of my partner's favourite children's books was Fantastic Mr. Fox, and one of his favourite movies, Fantastic Mr. Fox. And so what am I going to sit in our shared office or yarn and little man room? Fantastic Mr. Fox, because he'll enjoy Fantastic Mr. Fox. So the yarn is great, and Zach's patterns are well written. And what I think is really interesting is that it doesn't matter which ones of his patterns you use. This is his itty bitty carrot and the itty bitty turnip. I can't find the itty bitty jellyfish that I test knitted, which was a very tiny one that I gave to my stepson, and I made another one for my niece. This yellow one, this carrot glows in the dark. So they all have a look to them. Like, you can tell that they're Zach's patterns. There's kind of a chonky chonk, there's kind of the stubby legs going on. Even his penguin has legs, the little stubbies, which are kind of cute. They all have a similar face, which it's interesting to see that he's got a very definitive style. So if you like his style, you'll like his patterns. His patterns are well written, and he's got some really good videos to go along with it. And now the dog wants to go back inside. Of course he does. I'll have to deal with his nonsense in just a moment. Do I recommend Zaddycrafts? And how do I feel about Zaddycrafts and the Crochet Me Zaddy Really Good Chenille? I really like them both. Am I going to use either of them for market prepping? No, mostly because I don't do many markets these days. I've done a few. We'll get back into them, but I feel like there's a lot more work. I know he sells them for a lot, but he's got the advantage of being able to say, this is my pattern. I think the yarn is probably too expensive to use for batch producing the things like the turtles that sell really well at markets. But if you were going to make something that was a more high quality plushy piece, by all means go with his yarn, because it's not going to annoy you or hurt your wrists anywhere near as much as using a much cheaper blanket yarn. But if you're going for size over quality, go with your discount blanket yarns every single time. Yeah. However, I'm going to carry on supporting him on Patreon. I'm going to carry on buying his yarn. I'm going to carry on using his patterns because I like the style. I like the yarn, and I think that he's just a cool person that I want to be able to support. So if you want to see any of his links, I will put them down below, and I'll try and remember to link up some other things that I've done in the past looking at his yarn. He does now have an expanded range of colours, which is very cool. I just haven't bought any of his expanded range because I think his initial range hit the nail on the head of what was required as like a basic starting point for sending out a yarn product into the universe. His new colours, there's a lot more pinks and purples and that sort of thing, which is cool, but I haven't thought of a project that I need to buy the new yarns for. So at the moment, I'm still on his original colours, and I think they're great. I love the boldness and the brightness of them. Anyway, I will catch you next week. Bye! And this is the bit where actually if I put them over here, yes, oh look, we've got a dog and we've got a fox and they're over there, and here's some other videos you may be interested in, and over there you can subscribe. I've got to now remember to actually put those in the right spot, and I probably won't remember, but we'll see if I remember to put a subscribe thingy over there and a videos you might also be interested in over here, and whether or not I've rambled for long enough that I'm not covering anything that's actually useful. Something along those lines. I'll catch you.